Affordable housing this, affordable housing that. I don't get this. What does it all mean? Does it mean crime? Does it mean noisy parties? Does it mean people hanging their washing from their balconies? I don't get this. Hey, I live in a high-end neighborhood. Do I want renters living near me? I don't know what this is all about. I'm going to go ask my friend Luke Stack. He's the executive director of the Society of Hope. Maybe he can shed some light on this for me.
Affordable housing is an elusive concept. It's a very, very broad term that's used for so many different things. In the nonprofit sector, the housing sector that I work in, affordable housing means rental housing that is within people's limited incomes. So what we try to do to make housing be called affordable is keep the rents within 30% of someone's household income.
So you actually subsidize the rents?
The society as a delivers the subsidy of the rent, but in essence, the federal government, the provincial government, provide subsidies that allow us to be able to deliver the housing at that value.
So what's the best way of finding out more about this?
In my opinion, the best way to learn about affordable housing is to talk to people who are either currently living in affordable housing or perhaps have lived in affordable housing, because they can tell you stories about how it has helped them and how it's made their lives more manageable.
So, do you know some people who might want to be interviewed for say, a documentary?
I could find them. I could contact people that I know are current tenants, and we can do a little hunting. But yeah, I could put that together and we could find some people.
So Luke found some people who live in affordable housing. At least some of them used to. And some of them are renters right now. We're going to interview them. But first, I'm going to get Luke to do a little summary so you can find out who these people are.
We began with Gary, who is a successful realtor in Kelowna. But he began his career in co-op housing and spent a number of years there. We also went on to interview Nellie, who is a successful businesswoman, raising a family. We talked to Wayne, who currently is involved in nonprofit housing, but where once upon a time he was a single parent raising his children. A senior citizen by the name of Betty gave us an interview and told us her story. We also interviewed a woman we'll call Kim. She wishes to remain anonymous as she's working through some difficult issues in her life. And we spent a good deal of time interviewing Carol. Carol's a single parent raising a young son, and she too fell into some very difficult domestic issues.
I started out in Prince George and met a man who I thought I loved, and we had a child, and it was just a rat race. It was horrible. It was abusive. It was an ongoing road for about 5 years. I stayed. Instead of leaving, I stayed.
Until I decided to leave the abusive relationship after we were together like 5 years, and I went to my girlfriend's place to stay for a couple of days. And then my ex-husband withdrew all the money from our sharing account, and I have no money in Canada. I took my 10-month-old child with me because I was breastfeeding her. And so no money and no family and no place to stay.
I moved out here from Regina, and I got a job right away, but there was no housing. The housing is very expensive, and I have 2 boys.
My marriage broke up, and I found myself being a single parent, and we had just sold the house, so I was a single parent and homeless, and again in a situation where being unemployed, I didn't have the opportunity to get into the marketplace. Rentals were quite high, and finding something suitable was very difficult.
But we had to leave the shelter. Then I found the all money we can receive, the financial support from the government, is only basic for food and $600 for place to live every month. And everybody knows it's expensive to rent here, especially for a single parent with such a young baby. Nobody want to rent it to you. So it was so difficult for us to find a place.
I've been a widow for over 20 years, so I was beginning to get afraid that I might be too far from town and alone. And I felt it was time I looked for something in town. And so my daughter and her husband started looking for me. And we had an interview here, and I knew people that lived here. And so I was able to put my name in and wait for an opportunity.
And I believe the city of Edmonton actually took the land, developed it, and then what they did is they offered it to people with a certain income. You had to qualify. It was a lower income assistance program, so it involved, you certainly had to make money, but then obviously it was like a income qualification. And basically what it was a sort of a cooperative in a way, but it was a forgivable mortgage program.
I lived in a townhouse there, which ran me $650 a month. And I was only bringing in, my paychecks were $600 or under. Actually, I do believe at that time I was on $400 or $500 on EI every 2 weeks. And I was selling things off and using pawn shops and trying to work minimum wage jobs.
And I finally found a basement, and it was such a bad place. The landlord promised us to fix everything, but they didn't. They just painted the wall that looked okay, but it was just terrible. And the dog pooed in our place, and the door was unlocked, and they took advantage of. I didn't know much about the law about renting. They let me sign the contract, and they turn around and says we share the kitchen and share the laundry, so I have no way I can fight with them. The 3-4 months living in the basement, there's such a bad condition like that, I would become so ill. And every time my baby cried, I was so stressed out because I didn't want the landlord to have any excuse to kick us out, because they knew we have not many options. They knew we can't afford it. So it was very hard.
And I ended up to the point where I had to move because I couldn't afford where I was living. I claimed bankruptcy and I lost everything. And then I heard about the Society of Hope. So I put in an application because my son and I were living in a 1-bedroom furnished basement suite. Didn't even have a bathtub, it had a shower. And put my name on a list in 8 months. I had a call that there was a place available in Winfield. So I came and checked it out and moved out here not knowing anybody. Put my son into school, but still on a downhill spiral. I mean, it started picking up because I had a decent place to live. But I still had to go out and work these jobs where I was working shift work and